This is Justin Case of America Newscape, honored to be joined by Jacki Reynolds during this Teachers Appreciation Week, sharing a few perspectives. Hello, Jacki. Welcome to America Newscape.
Hey Justin, how's it going?
Hey, it's pretty exciting out here. What's happening in San Antone?
Um, in San Antonio,
Oh,
uh,
a
we're just
suburb?
getting over some, tourists call it San Antonio. Tourists and country music musicians who have to rhyme something with own uh, say San Antone. But yeah, in San Antonio, we're doing good. It's not too hot yet, just coming off some rain. So
I'll
that's
give you
it.
my quick experience in San Antonio. I was flying into San Antonio for a big competitive shoot, and got off the plane into the terminal, and I said, "Oh my gosh, there must be a water main broken in the terminal." You talk about humidity, but that's not why we're here.
No.
Okay, Jacki, let's get this started. What inspired you to enter teaching?
Well, I came into teaching later in life, like in my 30s. I had tried the business realm. I was in the private sector. I worked in the beer business. I worked in the construction business. And even though they were fun and the money was better than it is now, it wasn't like fulfilling. And I was like at this kind of crossroads when I was finishing school. And I know this is going to sound weird, but I actually had this dream about it where I saw myself in front of a lot of people and I was um, teaching them something. And I started thinking about that, like, Jacki, could you be a teacher? That's so weird. But then I thought, I used to love playing school when I was a kid. I love when people are listening to me. I like being the boss, like of my younger siblings. So that's where it all started. And I know this is going to sound weird too, but I really liked talking to teenagers. I thought that they were at this really cool time in their lives where they were learning things still, and they were on the precipice of great things. And I didn't mind being around them, and I liked to hear what they had to say. So that's how I got into it. And I've never regretted being a teacher.
That's wonderful. What a diverse background, and that has to add to it from time to time.
It helps. It helps.
Well, what struck me as I did a little bit of research, Eleanor Roosevelt, and she developed this Teachers Appreciation Week back in 1953. And when you stop and think about Eleanor, what didn't she develop? I mean, was there, uh, as a first lady, every time we learn something about her, it's just what a remarkable lady she was.
She was a mover and a shaker.
S- So, when you are you, I know a lot of teachers they tire out a little bit at the end of the year, but you have to be just energized at walking into the classroom and starting that day interacting with students, I assume.
um, the best part of my job is being with the students. I mean, it's been a little different this year, right? Because I've been a hybrid teacher, so I have students who are in my class, and then I have students who are on Zoom. So I'm kind of at cross purposes a lot of the times, and a lot of times all I'm doing is staring at these little black boxes with names on them and um, hoping to get some feedback. But the best part of my day is when I get to talk to my students and get to hear them learn and hear about them, about their lives or whatever's going on. Because I, the paycheck is not worth any of the other stuff. It's all because of those kids. And I haven't had a year yet where I didn't enjoy being around my students. And this is my 20th year, so that's pretty good.
Well, it is pretty good, and a lot of us have had professional career or have had careers for lots and lots of years, and most days we struggle to determine if we had a positive impact on the world. Most days. And I would have to guess that teaching is one of the most rewarding careers from that aspect. I mean, you must almost every day you've done something. Every day you've brought up or shared something that's going to make life a little bit easier for somebody.
I don't know if we feel that like every day. I don't know if I feel that every day. I do feel things like, oh, somebody just had an epiphany. Oh my goodness, and I help spur that on. Yes, that's great. And then there's days where I might not have those kinds of things, but I always get to laugh. And since I get to laugh every day with my students, that's a great day.
Well, I never asked you, what subjects do you teach, Jackie?
Oh, well, I'm an English teacher. I teach juniors and seniors at the AP level and what we call dual credit. So they're getting college credit with me as they're in high school.
Oh, I remember that day well, college composition in high school. And I'm not saying Dr. Kimball was a Nazi, but he was a very, very rough grader.
Mm, yeah, but one of the things, Justin, that like I've learned through being a teacher is that kids can sense BS, right? And so one of the things they always tell me they appreciate about me is that I will be honest with them. It may not feel good at the time, but they feel like then they can make the adjustment. And when they do get it, then they know that they've done it well, that it wasn't just handed to them. And I think that's a wonderful feeling to have. I remember having it with a couple of my college professors where I didn't get it right at the beginning, but towards the end, I would get that. That's good, Jackie, and that made my day. And so I do that with my students. I want it to be honest. Not I think you can be honest and be kind and not be ugly honest. And I try to be honest and kind.
He was honest and kind, and he was a great, great, great educator. It was an honors class, of course, and there were 50 of us that showed up the first day going, "What's going on?" And he assured us that only 5 or 6 of us would finish his course. And
Oh my God.
the only thing that kept me in the class was I was not going to drop the class, and he painstakingly helped me. I mean,
Aw.
painstakingly helped me. And now I run news sites and do a lot of writing, and not like a talented writer such as yourself, but I know I use the same
Okay.
phrases. No, I use the same phrases. I use the same words in lots and lots of things because they're interchangeable, but they're things that I know. But no, I loved him by the end of the class, and
Aw.
he was brutally honest. And I remember the first paper he handed back, it was read. I mean, he read
Mhm.
everything, he corrected everything, and it was painful. And I
Yeah.
finally, months into the class, got a D. And those were some of the most honest grades I'd ever gotten in my life.
Right?
Yeah,
Yeah, you
exactly.
appreciate those.
Well, and that's an important skill that you're teaching. I mean, that opens up so much
Yeah.
for those students of yours, and AP honors classes. That's so what they call that. What college prep now? Back then it was just honors.
Yeah. Now, yeah, back in my days, it was just honors too, but now it's AP, which is advanced placement, and then my kids are doing advanced placement, which goes through this huge corporation called College Board, and then they're also doing at the same time what we call dual credit, and that's like they have a college transcript after they graduate from high school. So I have quite a few students who have already finished like a year's worth of college before they step onto a college campus. So they're saving a lot of money, and I love that program because I work with kids who don't have all of the means to fund their own college. So I have several students that are graduating this year, and they only have 3 years of college left to do.
Well, I hope parents these days realize how important that is. When the system determines that the student is capable of handling this, it's very, very important to get them into these challenging programs.
Well, And Justin, you probably know this, that not everybody advertises it for all of the parents. Like they don't necessarily know what's going on or what it involves. And so I have to spend a portion of my year going to the lower grades and trying to, talk up the program. And it's really for their own good, but I have to be a salesperson a lot of times because parents don't know, kids don't know. And I feel so badly when kids come to me later and said, I don't know why I didn't sign up. And I'm like, I don't know why you didn't sign up either. I told you you're going to have all this college credit. But every one of my dual credit students who've come back have said, oh my gosh, thank goodness I did that because my other friends are writing English papers and stuff in college and I don't have to do it. I'm like, yes.
Well,
That's when I feel like I've really accomplished something.
and I think there's a danger in the brighter students not being challenged in their classes. So if they coast through high school, and I'm not saying you can't coast through college because you can certainly pick a college that puts out a pitiful enough curriculum that they can coast there too. But give them a chance. I want to say let them bloom as much as we can.
Well, and those of us who've talked to other people ever know that one of those things that's missing is critical thinking skills, and so that's what I really enjoy about having that level of student is that we get to hone those critical thinking skills. So even if they don't, major in English, or even if they don't finish college, they still can think for themselves critically and they can question things. And that's one of my biggest purposes or aims in being an educator is to get people to think for themselves and to ask the questions that need to be asked and to go out there and make a ding somewhere in that universe.
Well, I agree. We spent time in the library. We didn't have Google or Siri or somebody to give us a left-handed answer to a critical question.
Right.
So, and I guess being an old fossil such as myself, I worry about these kids. You know, I know the easy thing to say is that they're tethered to their phones, and certainly there's a lot of information there, but I worry about their ability when it comes time for them to critically think. Will they have those skills? Because we didn't have any choice.
I know. Do you remember having to take your note cards for your research paper and go through the card catalog? You probably didn't have to do that. I did. I'm probably older than you. And I had to search through the card catalog and see if they had something on the shelf where my kids are doing a research paper now and they don't have to leave their bedroom. It's amazing. It's amazing to me.
Well, the librarian was always my best friend. And I recommend that to anybody. If you go to the
Yes.
library, make friends with the librarian because they can save you lots and lots of time. You talk about generations. The day before I went to kindergarten, my sister walked me the mile to kindergarten and back. My first day of kindergarten, I walked to school a mile across streets by myself.
Right.
And I came home, and I share this just because it's a memory I have. And I got to the door. My mom was happy to see me. They, didn't have a helicopter mom. Was wondering if I would make it back because I was not the sharpest pencil in the box. But my mom gasped. She said, "Who is that?" And I looked over my shoulder, and this little girl had followed me home for some reason.
Oh.
So that was the first day of school. So no, didn't take the bus, always walked, rode a bike, got to school, only got picked up when, there would have been for San Antonio tornado warnings or something like that, but that just never happened. So, that was part of our critical thinking. You needed to read a map, you needed to know how to get around, you needed to know how to take care of yourself. Jackie, there's
Yeah.
how much of your time is spent interacting? I can imagine administrators is a lot, and then you have time you're interacting with parents. So how does that break out for you?
Well, Justin, I'm going to be very honest with you. I try to avoid administration as much as possible, just because I still feel sometimes like I go to high school and I don't want to be in the principal's office. So I'm lucky enough that my classroom's at like the end of the building, and they don't necessarily have to see me. But when I do, it's usually because of education things. I always talk to people about my job in two different realms. There's the education system, and then there is teaching.
Right.
And those are, they commingle, but I'm a different person in each one of those. And so the education part of my job has, more bearing on my career, but the teaching part of my job has more bearing on my day. And I've learned over the years what it takes to do the job so that admin doesn't have to worry about me. They know that I'm a professional, right, and I will handle my business. And also on the other side of it, I've learned how to handle my relationship with my kids, that when I do have to interact with parents, it's usually in a proactive way for about 95% of the time. I'm the one who's reaching out. Thank goodness now we have email and things like that. And I can reach out and just let them know what's going on. I'm surprised, and I don't know if you ever thought about this, but our parents, like, they didn't know our grades or what we were doing until the end of a grading period.
Right.
These parents know right now. They can just log on and look and see right now. But a lot of them still don't do that. I don't know how my daughter would have gotten through her high school career if I would have known everything she was doing every single day. So she's very lucky, and she says that every day. So a lot of it's already proactive, and I don't have to do too much with parent contact, thank goodness, because I don't like to bother parents with that. I like to handle that between me and my students. They're, 16, 17, 18 years old, and I tell them it's time for you to learn how to take responsibility and accountability for what you're doing. So we can keep this between us, and you're going to handle your business, and I'm going to help you handle your business. And then your parents can just rest assured that you know how to handle your business. Isn't that what you want? You want more independence. You've got to show them that you can act independently. So that's 95% of the time. And then you have your 5% where you have to email and call. And I let the parents know that I'm on their side. I'm on their kids' side. I don't want kids to fail. That makes me feel like I failed. So I reach out and try to help as much as possible, because, man, when I first got into teaching and I had some seniors who weren't going to cross that stage at the end, that was devastating for them and for their parents and their families. And I just try to do everything in my power to make sure that doesn't happen to any of my students, whether it's my class or anybody else's class.
Right. Well, and that's a testament, that skill, handling your own business. And that's what we were told to do. I remember when little Justin came home from school and said that, I don't want to go to school. I don't want to go to school anymore. Then it was quickly explained to me, that is your job.
Right?
Yes. Get up, go to school, pay attention, and let's not hear any more of this. So it wasn't open for discussion.
No. And that's what's so funny to me when I think about how my parents handled me versus how parents handle things now. If a teacher ever called home,
gulp.
That was the worst day of my life right there.
Exactly.
No. I would rather be at school. I would rather be at school when that phone call came than be there when I saw my parents' face. She did what?
Little Justin would say, is that all she said? and feel a small victory.
Right. And as you get older, exactly what was said and which teacher?
And even as a student, you appreciate those great educators. And and there's a lot of people that are let's just say actors in those positions. Oh, you don't have to agree. That's Justin Case talking.
No, I know. I'm always amazed by people who go into education who don't like kids or teenagers. How do you expect your day is going to go if you don't like the people that you're working with. I always think of my students as my customers, right? We're working on the front lines together, and you are what I'm here for. And I think some people go into it thinking that it's just going to be this kind of sage on the stage where they can just talk the entire time and people will just do what they say and they will just learn that way, instead of taking into account what's happened over the last, even just like the last 5 years, how kids have changed, how our society has changed, how technology has changed. And you have to reach kids differently in different ways. So I feel sorry for those teachers, but I feel even sorrier for those students, because believe me, my students come and tell me um, what goes on in those classrooms, and I wouldn't want to be a student in that classroom.
Well, I had some of both. Went to a grade school that were all handpicked teachers, and it was remarkable. So by the time I got to high school, I didn't recognize there were actually bad educators out there that really didn't care about me as a student. And it doesn't take much intelligence to figure out who they are. But what you do is you love and you appreciate the ones that are advocating for you, that are showing you the path, that are giving you a passion you never knew you had. I when I went to high school, there was this teacher that kept winning Teacher of the Year for like 6 years in a row, and I thought, well, I don't want to go to that course subject matter, but I will. And what a remarkable educator! And the only way I can correlate this to and some of the fossils will understand this. When I went to school, there were kids in our high school that had heroin problems, and they were there. They weren't skipping school. They weren't getting thrown out of school. They were there. And I had
Yeah.
seen these kids in classes for years, and they basically, even though they were sitting in the chair, they weren't there. And this teacher, this educator was so great in teaching Southwest history, showing up in his buckskins with his flintlock rifle. He had so much passion that he shared it, and he with all the students, that those kids that I'd never seen speak in class, never interact in class, started speaking and started interacting. And at that moment in time, I said, well, I guess I understand why he has been Teacher of the Year for all these years.
Right.
So bless you. I mean, bless teachers like you, and bless you for what you're doing with these kids.
I feel I'm blessed, but thank you. I mean, I feel too that we have this unique opportunity as teachers that we get some time in these kids' lives. It's brief. It's 45 minutes a day for maybe 170 something days, but we get to watch them grow so much in just a year, and then we get to hopefully on the other end hear what they're doing with their experiences. And I just always feel like I want to know where they're at, because I hate not knowing what's going on behind a kid's eyes. I want them to know that I'm here for them, and that I know that they're not all the same, and they're not all coming to my classroom with the exact same background, and they're not all coming with full tummies or clean houses, or both parents, or sometimes any parents. And I want them to know that I get that, and I love them anyway, or I love them probably more because of that, because they're here because they need someplace stable, and they need to know that somebody cares about them, right? And I'm fortunate enough that I can be that stability for them, at least for a year,
Well,
maybe more.
well, Jackie, it's more than that, and I promise you. And the only way I can explain myself to you or fulfill this promise is I was a coach for many, many years, and now men in their 50s, business maggots. I call them maggots. They like to consider themselves bigness magnets. They still address me as coach. In their
Oh,
eyes, I'm still coach. And I promise you, your students will see you the same way. You'll always be their teacher. You'll always be the person that gave them that opportunity up,
so
and that's one of the biggest rewards.
it really is. Uh, I have a student that, and she's kind of like the epitome of what I'm talking about. She didn't come from, she comes from humble beginnings. Let's just say that.
Okay.
And I met her sophomore year, and I was lucky enough to have her junior and senior year. And she started talking to me about things that were going on around her, things that she wanted to see change. And I saw her come out of her shell. I saw her become an advocate for other students and other people in her community. And she actually has become part of social change and is at the forefront of some of these protests and some of these initiatives that people are taking within our community to make things better for other people. And just watching her on TV, watching her in an interview, I just melt. I just start crying and remembering, where she came from and what she's doing now. And I'm so proud. And I think I have a little piece of art that she gave me about how much power women have. And I look at that every day and think, she did have the power in her and she brought it forth and she's making a difference now.
How cool is that? Well, yeah, it is. It is cool. And cool is a cool word. Well, Jacki, we could do this all day, but do you have
Yeah.
any final thoughts you'd like to share? Some pearls of wisdom. Most of our audience won't be teachers. There'll be quite a few parents. There'll be a few students. But give us a gem to go away with.
Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. No pressure, Justin.
No, no. I throw them out all the time. I assume others can too.
Yeah. I, I don't know if I have any gems, but I will say this, that teachers, for the most part, are doing the best that they can. They're human beings, and they want to be a part of the student's life, and they want to be an inspiration. Sometimes they might miss the mark, and it's okay to say so. But I think that, especially in this time, as we're going through this, what I call a pandemonium, that we need to give each other grace, and that includes the teacher that you think has so much power in her classroom. Talk to her like she's your neighbor, like she is your friend or your cousin or your aunt, and let her know that you might need something from her, or you might have something to help her. Let's just be kind to each other and help each other through all of this. That's all I have.
Well, no, and that's good. Positive communication. Communicate with the teacher, and that old adage, walk a day in their shoes, where most of us could not. We could not do that. Well, Jacki, I want to personally thank you, and thanks for giving us some of your time. I hope you feel that the world appreciates you this week. I hope that
I feel they do.
well, we do, and we need to take more time and recognize the people that are creating the future for all of us.
Yeah, the future does happen in my classroom, and it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing.
Okay, alrighty. Everybody, this has been Justin Case and Jacki Reynolds talking Teachers Appreciation. Thanks for joining us. Remember, additional information and links are provided in this video's Read More. Today's the day to subscribe to this channel, and please support teachers and instructors everywhere.